Before we start this video, I want to know, what is your 5-star read for the year? Creme de la creme. Let me know, what was your favorite book?
Is it just me, or is Christmas time like the best time of the year to read books?
I just feel like the ambiance, the mood is set for primetime reading. We've got the cozy warm lights, the festive candles, the warm drinks, the cool nights, the cozy blankets. All it's missing is a 5-star read, and I've got a list here for you of all of the 5-star reads I've read in 2023. Apologies if you can hear my dishwasher in the background, but we got things to do, we got presents to wrap, we have no time to waste, so let's get into it. I have 17 books this year that I rated a 5-star rating to. I've read almost 100 books this year, and only giving 17 a 5-star rating, I feel like means a lot. I think that they are worthy of the score I gave them, and I'm so excited to share them with you in case you're looking for your next 5-star read. I'm here to help you out. If you've been on my channel for a while, you've probably heard me mention these books quite a lot, but if you're new,
Hello, welcome. This is a safe space to chat about some really awesome books.
and yeah, so get your drink, get your cozy drink, get your snack, because we have a lot to talk about. Now, for the first 2 books in this list are a part of a series, and I wanted to specifically mention these 2 books because while the series as a whole I think is top tier, also 5 stars, I want to give a special shout out to these specific books. And of course, we're going to start off strong with the Shatter Me series, specifically books 4 and 5 in her series. We have book 4, which is Restore Me, and book 5, which is Defy Me. I don't exactly know if everyone agrees with me in this rating. I know a lot of people love the Shatter Me series, and a lot of people love book 3 in the series. I would say that as well, but I really resonated with books 4 and 5. I found it so worthy of a 5-star rating. If you don't know what the Shatter Me series is, it's essentially a dystopian world where we have a girl that has powers, and her power is that she is deadly to the touch. You can't touch her, she can't touch you. Yeah. The world has kind of been taken over by this government system that is like super evil. They basically have taken over the world and killed or locked up anyone that has abilities. People are in hiding. It's a terrible place. And our main girl, Juliet, is obviously center stage in this series. We've got a huge love triangle. I'm not going to get into books 4 and 5 specifically because of spoilers into the series, but why I loved 4 and 5 so much was the change in stakes. So the beginning series is kind of our main character coming into herself. It's really almost a coming of age, but also understanding herself and the people around her really well. Books 4 and 5 is where we really get into the meat and potatoes of the government, the politics, and how things can be rectified in this world, and how Juliet plays a part in that, as well as the romance in there, which is sublime in my opinion. But yeah, I really think 4 and 5 just was what I was looking for in a fast-paced dystopian young adult book series. If you're looking for that, this is the series for you. I always recommend this series to people that are new to reading, that are interested in something really exciting and fast-paced, that love a good love triangle, and also love the villain. If you like villains, you're gonna love this book series. But this series takes me to my next 5-star read that also was a young adult, also was not necessarily dystopian, but kind of like fantasy based.
And was so emotional. When I tell you, I was not expecting this book series to make me this upset.
That book series is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. Now, while I would give this book series as a whole like a 4.5 or 5-star rating, I only wanted to mention book 1 in this series because it was so much from page 1 to like the last page, it was gripping. I didn't want to put the book down. Other books in this series, while amazing, the ending was crazy. I was crying by the end of it. One specifically was more fast paced, and I really think I was able to just fly through it and just be so excited and immersed in everything I was reading. Whereas the other books in this series were a little, not slow going, but they focused on a lot of other characters that I didn't always care for. So there were some plots that I'm like, okay, yeah, this is fine. I understand why this is necessary for the storyline, but I really want to focus on some specific people. And obviously, the origin story of what's going down in this world really takes place in book 1, and it was just fascinating to me. Loved this series. If you are interested in like an epic fantasy that's not so much magic based, but has more politics in it, and also star-crossed lovers, enemies to lovers kind of thing going on, this is the series for you. It's brutal, it's sad, it's unfair. You're gonna find yourself being really angry with what's happening in this series. And even at the end of the series, I don't know if you're gonna get all of what you're expecting, but it's still perfect. It's what needed to happen in this series, and I loved it. I love when a book can do that to you.
I tell you what, this video is going to make me want to reread all of my 5-star reads in 2024. Just saying.
From there, I read Emily Wilde Encyclopedia Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This book, I want to say this is one of my favorite books of 2023. It's, if I could only name like 3 books as like my top tier, this is definitely one of those. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia Fairies was cozy fantasy to the T. It was top tier. It was adorable. It was so cute, very quirky. If you like the socially awkward scientist girly that is really in her own head and not really understanding social cues, this book is perfect for you. We have a really cute back and forth band rivals in this academic space. We have 2 people that are very similar but also very different. The male main character, Wendell Bamblebee, is so adorable. He's like my heart and soul. So sweet. He and Emily Wilde are so cute. Every time we get dialogue with them, I was highlighting like crazy, making tabs. It's not for everybody. Not everyone liked this, and I was careful reading reviews on this book because I didn't want to get too upset, but I understand why people didn't like this book. It really is slow paced. It really is low stakes. There's no spice in this. So if you're looking for a fantasy romance series, honestly, none of the books I've mentioned so far are going to give you that. It's going to be just that gripping, heartfelt, heartwarming, devastating, brutal love that you like to read about without the spice in it. If you're interested in cozy fantasy genre, if you're looking for something that's whimsical to read, you want to have a little bit of laughs, you want to get into the setting of a cold, wintry forest with some fae, definitely read this book. It is a great book to read during the wintertime. Just saying. And book 2 is also coming out soon. So go ahead, read this one. Familiarize yourself with Emily Wilde. Fall in love with her. Fall in love with Wendell. You're welcome. But now we're going to switch gears into just straight up romance books. This author took me by surprise. I didn't think I was going to love her books as much as I have, and I'm so glad I've discovered her. But that book is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. To be honest, one of the reasons why I love this book so much was our main character is Hispanic, and so we have so many references to things in my own culture that were just so fun to read, very funny. She's got like this crazy family that's all up in your business, and yes, she has to go on her sister's honeymoon with like one of the best men because everyone in the bridal party got crazy sick, like food poisoning. And only these 2 people didn't. So they go on this crazy honeymoon so they like don't lose all the money that was spent on it. They don't really like each other, and somehow they have to pretend that they're married and in love so that they can go on this honeymoon and it's like paid for and stuff. It was so good. I loved it. I loved the romance. The chemistry was great. I listened to this on audiobook and highly recommend. Although I still want to read it, the physical copy, I think it was also worth listening to. It's definitely a great rom-com. Kind of ridiculous, kind of far-fetched, but I loved it. And I don't say that lightly because I really am not a fan of cheesy rom-coms, but this one was another romance read that I absolutely loved and want to give a huge shout out to is Beach Read by Emily Henry. And when I say Opposites attract in this book. Opposites attract. It was so cute. You have two authors spending the summer in these cottages on like a seaside town, and they're next door neighbors. They're also rivals. They kind of know of each other, but they are stuck. They're in a bind. They don't really have any juice left to write this book, so they have to write by the end of the summer. And they're like, all right, let's switch genres. You write literary fiction, I'll write romance. Let's see what we can come up with. And they kind of help each other write these books that they have to write, while also understanding and getting to know each other as well. Throughout the summer and throughout this writing experience, they kind of become friends, and it turns into love. And it is just so well done. I love how Emily Henry writes her books and her characters, the character development. The settings are beautiful. I really just feel myself immersed in where she places us. I love how she writes romance. It's great. They're not cheesy. They're very fleshed out, but also kind of lighthearted. Like, it kind of is like a game of tug and war here. Love it. Absolutely recommend if you are interested in romance, but you don't really want anything too spicy, too crazy, a little more thought-provoking, a little more nuanced. I think you will really enjoy Beach Read. Another book that was by Christina Lauren is Love in Other Words. This is a friends to lovers romance. This is the first friends to lovers I've actually ever read, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. Now that's like one of my favorite book tropes, surprisingly enough. Can't recommend this book enough. I was in tears in so many parts in this book. It was so beautiful. I can't wait to read it again. Highly recommend reading this, rereading it. It is so great. I also think this would make a great book club book. So if you're interested in doing a book club, maybe add this to your list. It takes place in Northern California. We go back and forth in time with two best friends that kind of had a falling out. They lose touch for years, and then they kind of run into each other again as adults. And they make up for lost time, and they find out kind of what happened within the span of each other's lives, what caused the falling out. Yeah, beautiful writing. It was so good. I loved it. And then I read another Friends to Lovers book. I'm telling you, like, this is it for me. I love Friends to Lovers now. The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams is a rom-com, is cheesy, is corny, is adorable, and is worthy of 5 stars, in my opinion. We've got an NFL player and his best friend, who's like a ballet dancer girl, and they're besties. They've been besties for a long time. She's in love with him, and she's just pretending to be his best friend, even though she's in love with him. She doesn't want to ruin what they have to fake date for PR purposes. If you're looking for a clean romance, this is it. This is perfectly clean, closed-door romance. And I think this is gonna be a series in this little universe world that she has. We're gonna have, I think, another book coming out called The Rule Book, which I'm really excited about. But yes, if you are interested in clean romance and you like rom-coms, definitely check this one out. So cute, and I think you'll fall in love with Friends to Lovers book tropes. Then I took a deep dive. We switched gears here because I went from cheesy romance, cheesy rom-com, to like super creepy gothic fantasy. And I read House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. What I will say about this book is that when you're gonna start, just know going into it that nothing is really gonna make sense until like the very end. Just know that. I will say Erin A. Craig did a phenomenal job of doing a fairy tale retelling in a way where it's not cheesy. It fits seamlessly with this world and almost makes it believable. So this is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, and it's creepy. We have this house on the sea. It reminds me of Edgar Allan Poe. We have these 12 sisters, and like something's happening and it's causing these sisters to die. We don't know why. We don't know what's causing it. We don't know who's doing it. We just know that something's going down in this creepy house in a manor by the sea. If you like gothic fantasy, I think you'd really like it. If you're new to it, I think it's worth checking out. I loved Simple Favors by her. It was probably it was definitely my favorite that she's written, but this was also phenomenal. Hence why I gave it 5 stars. I'm excited to see what else she comes up with. I know that she came out with another book in this kind of series with a different sister. So yeah, very excited to read more of her. This is my deep dive into gothic fantasy. This next book surprised me. And it's something I don't think anyone is gonna really be familiar with, which is super cool because let's bring up indie authors. Let's hype up books that no one else is talking about. So this book is a Kindle Unlimited find, and I actually got the entire series on Audible for like 1 book credit. So definitely recommend checking it out on Audible or Kindle if you haven't already. But this is called the Lachlan Feud series, and it's written by 2 authors, Elle Madison and Robin D. Mayle. I think I pronounced their names right, but this is book 2 in the Lachlan Feud series, called Tarnished Crown. We have a girl who basically is a princess in her kingdom, and she finds herself on the other side in this other kingdom, and they fight with each other, right? So now she's taken hostage with all these clans. So we have a lot of like Scottish ties and lore in this book, which is really interesting. It's very archaic, very traditional in their way of life that she's with these people that she's found herself like hostage to. And yeah, super interesting. We have enemies to lovers, we've got arranged marriages, one bed trope. Book 2 is so fun. I flew through it. I absolutely loved the characters. It definitely reminded me of Feyre and Rhys in the ACOTAR series. So it's a good time, and also is another closed door romance. It's clean romance. So if you are looking for a fantasy romance series that isn't full of smut, I think you will really like these authors, but more specifically this book series. I've read another series by them which was also fine, but this one was really good. This next book comes as no surprise. I think everybody that has read this book has given it a 5-star rating, and honestly it's rightly given. This book is so beautiful, so wonderfully written. The story, the characters, the plot. I was crying like early on in this book just because of the writing. It is so emotional. It is gripping. We've got war, we've got rivals to lovers, we've got pen pals. It really reminded me of You've Got Mail, which is like my favorite movie ever. And I'm so excited because book 2 comes out in like 5 days. That book is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. The war between gods in this magical world, and it's kind of a historical fantasy, so it really reminds me of maybe the 1920s, 1940s. We've got correspondents and journalists going on and telling people about what's going on in the war. One of the characters is writing to her brother that's in this war, and it doesn't make its way to him, but it does make its way to another person. And unbeknownst to her, she's corresponding back and forth with this person, getting to know them, but they don't share each other's name. They don't really know who they are. They're just finding comfort in this crazy wartime with each other. This book is going to give you all of the emotions. How the book ended was a really crazy cliffhanger, and I'm excited to see where they take book 2. I love their story so much. Iris and Roman are really amazing characters to read about. If you are interested in historical fantasy, if you are interested in books that cover war, and if you can deal with grief, because there is some really sad stuff that happens in this book, I think you should read it. It's beautifully written. Rebecca Ross is a great writer. I can't wait to read more books from her. But this takes me to a book that I honestly didn't think I was going to like. I didn't think I was going to even buy this book. And the only reason why I did was I felt a little crazy. And I'm so happy that I got it, because this is one of the best books I've read this year. Probably also will make my top 3 list, only because it was so thought-provoking and emotional and just really impressive in the writing. And that is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This is a literary fiction. We are in the subconscious of a giant Pacific octopus named Marcellus. He is getting up there in age. He's living his last days in this aquarium, and all he has really to keep him company are the fish in the other tanks around him and the nighttime janitor. You kind of get the perspectives of what's going on in his world, as well as the world of a few other people, including this janitor woman. It is so heartfelt and emotional. I found myself sobbing at the end. It was so good. It's got a little bit of like a detective mystery going on, as well as a deep dive into the process of making unique friendships in like unlikely places. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, I could see myself crying by just thinking about this book, because of how it ended and how everything kind of interconnected. It was cool. And I know what you're thinking. How is that possible with a human and an octopus? but it does. Believe me, it does. And I can't wait to read more from her. This is her debut novel, and I don't know what else she's gonna write, if she's gonna do more lit fic, but it was really good. And I'm not really usually a lit fic fan, but this one was really good. I gotta give my brother a shout out for this one because I never even heard about it, surprisingly enough. And he's like, "What are you talking about, Allie? It's all over the internet. You have to read Assistant to the Villain." And I'm so glad I listened to him because this book was so cute. Really do think she is my new favorite cozy fantasy author. And that's saying a lot because Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia Fairies was. But this one was so cute. I found myself laughing so many times, giggling. Like, I loved our main character. It's very funny. It's kind of like satire on people that are obsessed with the villain and falling in love with the villain trope. But I think it was really well done. It was super lighthearted. Again, it's going to be low stakes, so nothing's going to really make too much sense or is that important necessarily. But I think it just goes to show you don't necessarily need that to have a really good book. Our girl Evie is super lighthearted, optimistic, rainbows and butterflies and unicorns kind of girl. And she's the assistant of this like super evil arch villain. Like, he's giving Gru from Despicable Me or Megamind. And yeah, like, he wants everyone to know that he's super evil and villainous and deadly. And she's just like, okay, so what are we doing next? It's so funny, so cute, very lighthearted again. It's not going to be high stakes at all, but I definitely think it's worth reading if you like cozy fantasy, if you don't really want anything too stressful, but you want a fantasy world. Definitely read this book. The only thriller I gave a 5-star rating to is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I want to say this is a book that I would actually gift to somebody if you are trying to get into reading or you're looking for something exciting to read. This is a great gift because it was so twisty. It was so captivating. I could not stop reading this book. I couldn't put it down. And with thrillers, I feel like it takes a lot for me to get excited about them. Sometimes I feel like they have potential and then they fall flat at the end. The plot twist ends up being too predictable or completely too ridiculous. This one was so believable.
Like, it gave me goosebumps.
It was so well done. I feel like it happened in real life. Like, that's how good it was. Like, I was actually listening to a true crime podcast, which, funnily enough, is what this book is about. It's a psychological thriller where the main character finds herself kind of in the midst of her own true crime podcast as she's filming a true crime podcast. She is a podcaster. We have dual POVs. We have Alex and Josie. They go back and forth. Their lives kind of intermingle as she's filming for her podcast. Josie is like a huge fan of the podcast. She wants to be on it. She wants to tell her life story, blah, blah, blah. It goes from there. It's bamboozling, to say the least. Don't really have anything else to say other than read it. We're almost there, guys. I've got 3 more books to talk about. This one, honestly, I had to give it 5 stars, even if I wanted it to be a little bit deeper, a little more fleshed out, a little more oomph. I have to give it 5 stars because I love the author so much. I just have to. This book series also is a 5-star for me, so we're just gonna tie it all in a little bow and just mention this one book, and that is A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. No surprise here. I made 3 whole videos on books 1, 2, and 3. You can go ahead and check them out below. And I give you a full plot breakdown for books 1 and 2. The 3rd vlog is kind of like a spoilery reading vlog, and you get my initial reactions to it. It was so fun. I love Stephanie Garber's writing. I can't wait to see what she comes up with next. This book series is my favorite book series of all time. If you like fairy tales, if you like quests for true love, if you like falling in love with the villain, if you like super girly girls, kind of naive main characters that is just very hoping for the best, very optimistic, and she finds herself teamed up with a guy that's absolutely opposite, you will love this book series. It's so cute. This is book 3 in the series, and technically she's done writing this series. Hopefully she'll change her mind and keep writing. I don't know, but I have high hopes. Either way, this is a really, really great ending to the book series, although I do feel like there could have been some more stuff added to it. Watch my reading vlog for Curse for True Love to get my full like in-depth thoughts on it. But even with the things that I wish you would have added to this book, I still think it's worthy of 5 stars because as a whole, we got what we wanted, you know? Then I read Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is another Emily Henry. I think this is her most recent release. I don't think I liked it as much as Beach Read, but I still think it's worthy of 5 stars. I loved the setting that we have here. I like the fact that we have a group of people that are doing this last hurrah type of gathering at this cottagey house by the sea. And we have 2 people that are no longer engaged and they're lying to their friends to keep up appearances and not kind of like ruin the mood of this week by pretending that they're still engaged. So they have to kind of pretend that they're still together. We're talking a lot about friendships, relationships. We're deep diving into that. So you're gonna get into a lot of backstories, maybe some miscommunication tropes here, but I find that it's very realistic and some things that we deal with regularly as people, and not wanting to divulge sad things into other people's lives to make them feel bad about certain things, if that makes sense. It's just so realistic and heartfelt, heartwarming. I love it. I love how she writes. It was a great story. I can't wait to read her next books. I'm probably gonna give it another 5 stars. I don't think she can do wrong. I'm just saying. But all of these books brings me to my last, final 5-star book of the year. I haven't even fully gathered my thoughts yet because I just finished this book. I'm going to make a fully dedicated video for this book, but for now, just know that when I say this is like the best book of the year, that book is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I know what you're thinking. Stop. I know what you're thinking. Allie, everyone's already talking about this book, and I know everyone's talking about it. I didn't even know what the hype was, and then I started reading, and here we are. Here we are, and now I have to wait a full dang year for the next book to come out. But it's okay, we're here, and I'm here to tell you that you need to join me in my misery by picking up this book at your local library, at the bookstore. Go ahead, get it. Trust me when I tell you, this is so good. It is fantasy romance done perfectly. It's giving dystopian vibes. It reminds me of Shatter Me, but also the Red Queen and Hunger Games, a little bit of the Triwizard Tournament and Harry Potter. Like, we have a little bit of bits and pieces from other YA dystopian / fantasy books. All of these elements brought into one book, and they're all the best elements, right? So that makes it like the best book. The math is mathing in this instance. We have a world where there was a huge plague, and anyone that survived the plague basically made themselves superhuman. They have abilities now. So if you have abilities, you're called an elite, and if you don't have anything, you're called an ordinary. And the king feels like the ordinaries are basically scum of the earth. They're the cause of that initial disease, so they have to be eliminated from the earth. So we have a girl with no abilities, and she's lying to everybody so that she doesn't get killed. And yeah, so she's a thief. It's giving Aladdin for a little bit. We have the prince, and he is not next in line to the throne. He's a younger brother, but he's got the job nobody really wants. He's super powerful, so he's like the enforcer. I think that's what they call him. Anyway, we have the nobody girl over here, and then we have the enforcer guy over here. They meet somehow, and then they're thrown into this trial thing, and we kind of go from there. Just do us all a favor. Grab the book. Trust me when I say it's the best book you're going to read this year. It just is. I don't have much else to say about this book, other than I was left in tears. I did gasp, not once, not twice, but thrice, probably more. And I will recommend this book to seriously everybody. I don't even care. I don't care if you don't like romance. I don't care if you don't like fantasy. You have to read this book. That's it. But we did it. We got down to all of my 5-star reads of 2023. I'm thoroughly exhausted. My coffee has gone cold. but I feel like I've done my duty to society. I feel good. I hope you guys feel good. Would love to know your thoughts. What are your 5-star reads of 2023? Let me know in the comments down below. And also, if you're looking for more reading book recommendations, go ahead and check out these videos. I will leave more also in the description box. But this was a great reading year. I'm so excited for 2024. We've got a lot of sequels though I'm expecting in 2024, so stay tuned for that, because honestly, most of these books that I've mentioned, if they're not standalones, they're from authors that I will probably just continue reading and loving. So yeah, we're just gonna be on the lookout for that. So until next time, I will catch you in my next video. Mwah. Bye.